set. Start studio mode. Yeah. Hey. All right, guys. Well, you okay?
Yeah, I'm just I got cords and shit. I'm like, what do I do with my hands? I don't know. Today is weird.
Yeah, it's been a weird week, hasn't it, Brian?
Yes.
What's the matter?
I was trying to throw it over.
Oh.
I don't know what to do with you.
I don't know. It is an odd week, and that works because we've got an incredibly odd show to talk about. So, I guess screw it. Get into it.
Yeah.
Cue music. Yay! Welcome everyone to the Anime-Verse. Oh, jeez. Just when I was being fluent. Anime-Versal Reviews podcast, where we like to talk about anime and review it, obviously. Sponsored by the good folks over at Grow Generation, where the pros do go to grow. We are LRM online and LRM's on LRM's Genreverse podcast network. Please do check us out on YouTube, the LRM YouTube channel, and the podcast networks, wherever you guys can find that. All of our social media information is down below, links down below, all that good stuff. I think I got everything. I'm Kyle Malone. This is Christine Malone, and that guy over there is Brian. What's up, bud?
Hey.
Man, you picked the show, but I need to preface this, okay? Ladies and gentlemen, in order to truly, and I think you both will agree with me, in order for us to truly talk about Hellsing 2001, for today, we have to ignore Ultimate, right? Because we're just going to continuously jump to that if we don't, right?
Yeah.
Brian?
Yeah, completely. I was muted.
Okay.
Because otherwise that's all you'll be talking about. I mean, I'll go ahead and say and I guess we'll go into detail. I prefer 2001. No, some don't. Everybody has their own preference. I have my reasons,
but regardless, we would spin. Well, sorry, guys.
It would just be a comparison.
Yeah, constantly. But we are going to be talking about Hellsing 2001, Brian's pick. We were going to do it for Halloween, but things happened. If you guys saw the daily cup of genre this week, you'll know a little bit about it. But hey, we're here and we're ready to talk about it. So, Brian, your first experience with Hellsing, man, like what when and where did you see it, and why'd you pick it for us, besides the fact that it was Halloween? Because there's other horror things we could have done. Why this one?
True. I hadn't seen it in a while. I saw it back, I think I bought it early 2000s, not long after it came out, and I loved it. And and I enjoy horror and anime. Castlevania, this is, there was no Castlevania animated thing at that time. This was our Castlevania, and it was very much it's like a Capcom. There's Devil May Cry elements, there's some Resident Evil elements. It felt like a Capcom game, in many ways, which was cool. But yeah, just like the horror. And look, Alucard is one of the coolest anime characters. I put him on a top 10 easy.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah, it was really cool.
So yeah.
Where'd you find it at? How'd you discover Hellsing?
I think somebody told me about it, and I don't really recall who. I do remember buying it at that time. Yeah, we were in
high school because Matt was the one that introduced it to me in like junior senior year, so 0203. Maybe it might have been right after graduate, sometime late teens, and that's how I found it. So
I found it because of you.
Yeah. I know.
Typical answer.
It is a good one though, and it's such a product of its time, because dude, when you're watching it, you can, like Brian mentioned, several shows, but obviously there's other shows you can look to with action and art style. Things like Trigun and stuff come to mind, more than just the red trench coat. It's the elongated bodies and the gun work and things like that. I'm not off my base, right, with the Trigun.
Oh, not at all. Completely. Even red.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, completely.
So for those that might not know exactly how we do things here, we like to just kind of take the three chunks, like themes and story, and then to talk about characters, and then we look at the technical side, art and music towards the end. But here's the really cool thing about Hellsing is it's actually really, really light on substance. Like there's a lot of a backstory about the vampires and Incognito himself, and you're just Alucard and the Hellsing org. You're just like, why, where, how, like, and while you're left with all those questions, you're still fed a really fun, tantalizing, ultra violent show that still to this day has one of my favorite insults. And I mean, just there's nothing more awful than saying you're going to create a new orifice for someone in their face and then violate that orifice. It is that is like peak brutality right there. And as a 16, 17, 18-year-old kid seeing something like, yeah, sure, I'd seen things like Berserk and Ninja Scroll. Maybe I hadn't seen Berserk yet. It was around the same time, but things like you get things like sex, you get things like violence, but this was like it's
that
yeah,
whoa, I can't believe you just said that.
Pretty intense until you see stuff like Berserk later on, where oh my god, people that can complain about Goblin Slayer and then act like Berserk is like white satin. I don't know. Anyways, Brian, what do you think about the violence in this show, man? That's one of my favorite parts.
That was the appealing thing, and when I first discovered it, it was like, oh, that's why I was into it. Because like you said, even some of the dialogue, you're just like, oh, wow. The violence, the horror elements, like you said, there isn't a whole lot of story. And as far, I mean, there's some themes. There's the idea of family and legacy, and I mean, it's there. And there's a couple episodes that actually take the time to explore it. But for the most part, over the course of the 13, it's just a bunch of, kill this stuff, kill these things, kill those things. And as far as Incognito, there is a story, sort of,
but it's just barely. It's
very bare bones, and that sort of works to Alucard's benefit, though, because it's more of a force of nature than even a character. And I've heard actually, I'd read something a while back. There was some complaints or people analyzing the anime and saying is one of the problems or a concern with the anime is that he's too overpowered. He just can't lose, doesn't lose. And that is true, but you don't realize that until the very end.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh yeah, he can't lose, or at least they've not shown us anything that can defeat him.
Yeah.
But it that also works, I think, in a weird way, because then when you think back, and I don't know if they thought it through, but you realize that most of he's just playing. He could end all these things instantly. The Hellsing organization could probably
run Europe if
do everything
if
he wanted.
Yeah,
he's literally just sort of playing, and that's more twisted in a weird way.
I really got a lot of him really enjoying playing with humans. He's constantly, teasing Integra about, you want mortality? Come on, bitch, suck my blood. He's messing with Seras, which, by the way, we don't have her in here, but our cat, one of our cats is named Seras Victoria, our brown one. And he's always been messing with her. There's a lot of interesting things dealing with like servants and master relationships. Getting into this show, Christine, for the first time, what was that kind of like for you? Because I'm sure it was, because I brought you into a lot of soft, fun things with anime. I can't remember if this was one of the first like brutal ones. I
don't know if it was or not. It was one of the first few. But yeah, it was just kind of like the way he eggs on some of the big bads, where he's like, come on, I want more. He's looking for fun. It's you know, it was just kind of like, this guy's really intense. But yet, like, I really enjoyed it. And it was kind of like one of those, like, even, like, just watching it again, like, the scene where, like, he comes apart, and the vampire that's in the room that was after him, like, he's freaking out. And I'm like, why are you freaking out? Like, you're a different kind of monster. But, like, to me, it like, didn't scare me at all. It was just kind of like, you're a wuss. So it was just like, you know, like some of that, where like he's just getting so excited. It was interesting to see. But yeah.
Yeah. You know, as far as this story goes, if you haven't seen the show, do check it out. Don't just, you know, listen to the review, but do listen to it all the way through for that wonderful view time, listening time, and ad revenue. Hit subscribe. The cool thing about the story, I mean, we already said there's not a lot of substance, so you get to just kind of, like Brian said, follow the characters, Alucard and Seras and Integra mostly, but basically Alucard works for Hellsing organization. There's it's based out in the UK. He's a OP vampire, OG OP vampire. And Integra Hellsing's this, you know, current leader of this, you know, long lineage, and they fight the forces of evil, and eventually a big bad shows up named Incognito, and his whole deal is he's going to combine with Chaos God Set, and, you know, rain hell upon Earth. Hellsing organization has to stop him. In the meantime, we get to meet some characters like Walter and Seras and oh God, what was the captain's name?
Ferguson. I don't remember the first name, but yeah.
And him, and that's really kind of like the only characters that matter. You get the Valentine brother I mentioned, Incognito, and that other Christian guy. I think he was with an Irish or Scottish accent.
No, it's a Scottish accent. Yeah, but yeah. The Catholic guy.
Yeah, him. So that's basically the story, and lo and behold, at the end of the day, Alucard, you know, saves the day and offers once again to Integra, you know, hey, you sure you don't want some of this sweet red juice of mine, you know?
Yeah, there's other layers though. You know, of course, the battle that Seras is having with herself, being dead, and then also the battle of the Hellsing organization with other government groups within the UK, and it's just kind of like, you know, you're trying to get it all, and that was one thing that I found so confusing, like, why are they just so against them? But you know, they're having to battle the forces of evil and, you know, idiot government groups. Yeah. You know, so it's just, there's a lot going on.
One of the
in a good way.
Yeah. One of the biggest themes here, like you mentioned, Seras, battling her upcoming dependency on blood. You know, that master and servant is a big deal through this. If there's one big theme, it's that relationship and how fluid it can be, because there's moments where it's obvious that Alucard is Integra's master. She's not his. You know, he's allowing her to be his master, and he's constantly actually trying to free Seras, which is an interesting take on that, because he's the one that sired her. And sure, we have to kind of project some outside vampire stuff on here, because there's, you know, some lacking, but do you want to talk about that whole master, slave, or servant aspect?
Well, the thing is, like, she's dependent on him. She's not ready to leave the nest, if you will. Even though she's not going to, like, physically leave, I'm sure she would still want to work with the Hellsing organization, but she's not ready to cut that tether that she has with Alucard, which is fine. You know, to me, it's just kind of like, you know, do it at your own pace, I guess. So it's like, I wasn't, you know, just didn't really have much thought on it, just realizing what it was.
What about her potential enslavement to the vampire life. Like he's trying to free her into that, which is in its own way kind of like a servitude, if you will, because unlike humans where it's like, I don't want pork today, they really don't have a lot of choice, you know?
Yeah, I guess it's kind of like throwing her into the ocean, because there's a lot. But yeah, just she still has her. It's kind of like a kid with one of those like little harness backpacks, and she's connected to Alucard because
That's
it's
funny.
like, she doesn't want to wander off. There's a lot that she's not ready to embrace. But yeah, to me it would be kind of like, I guess you could see it that way, where it's like all of this, vast world, and there's so many things that she's struggling with, like drinking blood. She eventually, gets over it, but it's still like baby steps.
Yeah. Brian, I mean, it is something that's thrown throughout the show. You can, of course, respond to that, but I also want to get your kind of thought on that other thing that I said about Integra and Alucard's kind of flexible relationship.
Yeah, theirs is actually the more interesting relationship to me, as far as he doesn't have to.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like I said, he's so powerful, yet there's something about Integra that interests him. He's
Tempting the peer.
Yeah, there's something there, and I think seeing we get a flashback episode, and we sort of get the
is anime.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good point. And it's all while being in a coma or surgery.
Yeah. Fall asleep.
But that episode, I don't know, there was something about the joy he took at the moment where they sort of created this bond, and I don't know, for whatever reason, he sees the evil and corruption in everything and everyone, and for some reason he sees something different there, something that speaks to him, and he's made the decision that this is fun for now.
Yeah, and also like her strength, like when Integra frees him, and like she's not showing any fear, and so he's like, this is someone I can follow. So there's that little bit too, but there's more that he's interested in, like what you were saying, but there's also that as well. That was like, you don't want a wussy leader. And I don't know why we don't know really why he's connected to the Hellsing family, but he is.
Yeah.
So
one of the other themes that I kind of saw seeing this in this show is trust, which of course we're talking about relationships, so trust is going to be a big part of that. And you see there's a traitor in the round table. There's politics between the Queen and the Hellsing organization. There's the business, dirty, back dealing, artificial vampire thing going on. Like the world of Hellsing has so much potential. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a shame we haven't gotten to see and do more in anime. And I know that's all based on multiple things, from source material and just budgets and stories some might feel are complete. Regardless, I kind of miss that there's not more there. But when it comes to trust, all that back dealing and politicking, it's hard to make that stuff interesting, and they kind of don't follow through. We don't really. They're like, oh, whoever the traitor was, they've been dealt with. They've been sacked. Don't worry about it. It was kind of, that's like the most disappointing thing about this, Brian, is just the kind of missed potential.
Yeah, because like I was saying, you have a lot of these organizations that are on the same page in terms of what they want to achieve, but they hate each other. But the show goes into, it's very light, but they go into the Protestants and the Catholics. and that is something that's introduced, and they dabble with it a little bit, including a character, a really interesting character who comes in, who is on the same mission. It has the same goals, but handles things a little differently than the Hellsing organization, and they don't get along. But you're right, they introduce all these things, but they don't really take the time to really dig. And if it needed multiple seasons, I think, to really flesh some of those ideas out. But because you almost feel like there are episodes that are just missing content. Now, I don't, like we said, we weren't going to go into but there was a reason that this was a scenario where the manga wasn't finished. They had to just make shit up, and then they were like, "Well, it's finished now. Let's do that."
Yeah, because it was kind of weird. Like at the end, you see the Catholic guy again. You see his face, and then it's like, okay, what are you gonna do with him? You didn't do anything. Like he's just there with that look on his face, that he always had, and it's just like, oh yeah, so because like I forgot some of the elements of the episode, so it's like I see him, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, that guy. Haven't seen him in a while, and then it's like, and he was never seen again.
Is there any other big thematic or major story points that you wanted to touch on before we dig into some of the other characters, including Seras and Walter and whatnot, Brian?
Themes wise, no, just like we were saying, that the idea that Alucard being the force of nature, and that, I don't know, there's just something really cool about that sort of the revelation at the end, and yet it tells you, yet it doesn't tell you. And but no, as far as the overall themes, not really. I guess we'll get into characters. The young girl vampire,
Seras, or the other one. What was her name?
I don't remember.
Crap.
She's in a couple episodes.
With an N or something like that. Yeah.
Oh,
I know who you're talking about.
Helena.
I knew there was an N in it.
I just thought that was an interesting character and an interesting. I don't know if you wanted to save that or.
I mean, we can definitely bring her up, but before we do that, let's go ahead and take a word from our sponsors over at Grow Generation. Grow Generation, where the pros go to grow. Someone else talk.
Grow Generation, where the pros go to grow. For all of your cultivation needs, Grow Generation has the right products, service and staff to make your grow successful. Go to www.growgeneration.com, where the pros go to grow.
All right, thank you guys so much for sponsoring the episode. I guess we'll go ahead and get into characters, and if Brian, if your camera thing, I don't know if you got a capture card or anything yet, but I'm keeping an eye on that time. Characters. So we mentioned Alucard, Dracula, but backwards. We've all heard the name used a dozen times, like Dr. Acula from Scrubs. Walter's another interesting character that we get brought into. He's a servant of the Hellsing organization, human, but OP as fuck too. Uses these awesome strings and to cut and decimate people and ghouls and whatnot. He's a fun character to just because he's that one that you didn't quite expect at first, unless you're unless you're an anime fan and you're like, oh dude, he's gonna fuck some shit up. But even then, the way he does it, especially when the Valentine brothers are attacking and he gets to unleash upon them in the hallway scene, I always really enjoy Walter being on screen. Christine, what do you think about Walter?
I think he's awesome. Just never loses his cool. Can still fight after being around for a while, because he's probably around Integra's father's age.
Yeah.
So it's,
if not older maybe.
Yeah, and it's like I know how life is for me, and it's like in my 30s I can just start to feel that shift where it's like I'm not a spring chicken anymore.
It takes a lot of effort to get up these stairs.
Yeah. Or you wake up in the morning and you're like, oh god, I hurt. Why do I hurt? I'm old, even though I'm not. But yeah, it's just like, he's just really cool.
Yeah, but Brian, the Walter character, man. One of our four mains.
Yeah, like you said, just really cool character, and it also sort of gives you insight in that Integra, anyone in that circle or that's for the organization is for the organization. You're not gonna, in other words, if you're working there, if you're a part of this, you got to be able to hold your own because of scenarios like that, what unfolded, an attack on the compound. So it was just one of those reveal, and it was cool, that whole episode, because you're like, oh no, what's gonna happen, and then it's just like, oh shit, he can hold his own, you know. And I definitely don't want to talk about Ultimate.
What's great about Walter is, you know, there's very few people that Integra Hellsing can trust, and so it's kind of like this really small circle, and you know, you don't really get Seras in that too much, and you know, we can talk about her more later, but you know, she's got two that she trusts, you know, very, very much, and of course Walter is one of them, and you know, he trustworthy for a reason. You know,
it was a shocking moment when you think, oh my god, is he the traitor? Because you know, he's under a spell or control or whatever it was.
I had faith in him the whole time.
Right, but I'm saying, like, when you first watch it, you're kind of like you're shocked for a moment, because they don't just give it away that he's under control or something like that. It's just a fun character to play with and see, and I think he got, you know, decent use here. That is a great one of the cooler sequences in the entire show is the revelation Integra doesn't have a sister. You know, you know, that's such a like, oh, you know, what's happening? That was one of those cool sort of surprises, shocking moments. Yeah, exactly. I guess, Brian, since you're talking, bring up Helena and why you found that character so interesting, even though she only had a bit part. Couple scenes. It was that character that was designed to sort of introduce the idea of, okay, this is what being a vampire forever means. You know, and the idea of in her case, it's just sort of seclusion, hiding away, and just living in her books. And it was just an interesting character, and you know, of course, the shit went really bad for her in the end, but it was sort of that tragic character, and it, you know, very similar to Interview with the Vampire. I mean, Claudia. But it was that's what it was. But I mean, in the book, it's even worse than how what's her name portrayed the character. So because in the book she's what, like five? Jesus Christ. Boy, but it's like the kid immortal in the Highlander series. Talk about like just being pissed, like you die at like 12 to 13 years old, and then you have your awakening moment or whatever it's called, and just like, fuck, wait, that was I'm an episode. Stuck. Yes, it was. He's like, I'm stuck. Like, he's an immortal. He's been around for a long, not as long as the Duncan and whatnot, but he'd been around. Come up with a gimmick. Yeah, that was a good episode. Yeah, it was right. Yeah. But yeah, this is there was an animated series of Highlander. But, I know, right? Anyways. But it was just an interesting character, and like I said, it was one of those cool for Seras, like the being another step towards understanding that world and what it means, because you're slowly, step by step, she's sort of being introduced to everything, and that was sort of a turning point for her character too, as far as her being like, okay, I sort of get it now. Yeah, her bond with her, and you know, it had that, you know, like in the end when she's dying, it's like this probably is actually good for her, not so much for Seras, but for Helena, it's like, yeah, you've been around a long time, you are a hermit, you know, it's probably not like one of those like where you want to off yourself, but it's like, you know, I'm at peace with this kind of thing, you know, she's not like upset, no, I'm dying, you know, it's just kind of like, sorry, okay, I can hear Lucas downstairs is me video, go ahead. But yeah, that was it. I was just saying, it again it is one of those moments with her where you're like, yeah, man, I wish we could delve into this a little bit more, because Seras is a main character that, yeah, we get to go on the little bit of the journey with her of struggling with the vampire thing, but again, it's lacking. But Seras herself, we've touched on her. Police girl, she gets brought in at episode 1. She's kind of there to, you know, help us through this series, if you will. I love the character, and yeah. Well, anyone else got anything else to say about Seras in particular that we didn't cover, Christine?
I like how, like, you know, she's strong at first, a little bit. You know, I mean, she's pretty new to being a police officer. You know, and dealing with vampires and ghouls, you know, that can be upsetting for anyone. But it is great to see her slowly getting stronger and, you know, getting some confidence. So there's a lot of character growth, and I liked how she grew.
Yeah.
So.
Brian's Seras.
She's a solid POV character.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, that's what she is. She's the audience.
Yep.
Being brought into that world, and it's done very well. And you know, like we had said earlier, you know, sort of her relationship with Alucard is very interesting, and they could, you know, you wish there could have been a little bit more there explored, but there wasn't.
Yeah.
Go
ahead.
No, I don't know.
I was just gonna say, what's funny is here we are, you know, saying, you know, oh, this is lacking, but honestly, when you watch it, you're like, yeah, it'd be great to have it, but I'm okay with what it is. Yeah, there's better out there, but you know, when it comes to Integra, you can't really talk about her without Alucard, which we have done a bit, but we can do more if anyone else has got more to say. We kind of cover a lot of that, talking in the themes and stories. Was there any other points you had for Integra and or Alucard before we talk about the bad guys, Brian?
Integra is the kind of character that you could pull out of this and put in anything else, and I would love it. Like, in other words, it's a character that's just really, really well done and interesting. She's interesting. And so, you know, like I said, you could put her in another show and I'd be like, yeah, let me see what she's doing over there. But yeah, no, like I said, we got the flashback episode, which was solid. Seeing her as a young girl, seeing that, you know, she was essentially going to be killed. Her devotion to the Hellsing organization, to the queen. I mean, let's go on a little. I mean,
she's
her
very
devotion
loyal
to her country and church.
Yeah,
like that's a part of her character and part of the story. So that, you know, that's interesting as well.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
Christine.
For me, it was kind of like one of those where it's like, if I had met her personally, I would not like her. But she's a great leader, and you don't have to be friends with your leader. Just have respect and be able to follow the orders, because she has such a great mind and she's very strong. So for me, like, that's how I thought of it. Like, you kind of get on my nerves a little bit, just a little bit, but you're a solid leader. Like, that's what I would say.
You know, in the military, there's two types of ways that you bitch about your bosses. It's either fuck that guy, mother, you know, bastard, this, that, and the other. If on the other hand, people are going, God damn, sergeant or lieutenant, captain, whatever, they're on my ass, and God, but they're not calling them names.
Yeah.
They are under leadership, not a boss, and they have a lot of respect for that leader, and that's kind of like the cool thing to see in some of this, because the attack team's chief, you know, the captain, he's very, very similar. They engender that commitment, that loyalty towards, like, you tell me where to go, and I'm gonna go there because I wanted to do it for you, because of what you have put in front of me as an example.
Yeah.
And that even goes into that whole theme of master and servitude again. The very idea that human beings with this cognizance to make an open choice to follow the word of someone else. The fact that we are willing to put our lives on the line because somebody said the right thing. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you really want to get down to it, it's honestly because we listen to so many people say the wrong thing, that hearing someone, seeing a leader after getting nothing but bosses for years is an eye-opening experience. I know all of us have had that.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but Brian, anything on that aspect of it?
No, you said it well.
Cool. Incognito's the main baddie. So I guess we should, talk about him. We can mention a couple of others if you want the Catholic guy and the Valentine brothers and whatnot. But Incognito, are alien guys, I could call him. He looks like a freaky deaky alien. Looks like some reject out of an Aeon Flux episode. I can't stand Incognito.
He's like a Frankenstein monster alien where he's like just all patched up, and it's like, wow, man, they really screwed you up.
But he's odd. He's the antithesis of Alucard in some ways, to where he's all about the look what I can do, while Alucard plays everything really close to the vest. He's like, you think that's all I can do. Mm-hmm. Incognito is the bravado, the ego, the whatever you want to throw up there, and I'm not ego. I mean like ego. Oh, I'm full of myself type. He does do a lot of really cool damage. I love the final fight. He does some really freaky, awful things to people, making the freaks instead of the ghouls. Mm-hmm. Brings up the weird guy that attacks Seras in the last couple episodes. He's just such a weird character that in this version you can't really say too much, but you just know there's more there. What'd you think of Incognito, Christine?
Well, first off, I thought he had a dumb name. And as far as like the big bad, I don't know, for me he's not that solid. There's some ability there, but he doesn't feel as big as other major bad guys that you've seen in other shows, in movies and stuff. So It's just kind of like, watching it again, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember you're not that great, but okay. Although it was really cool seeing the scene where like he shoots the bullets back at Alucard. Like, yeah, that's cool. I'll give you that. But you colored the room. Ooh. Okay. The blade, invisible blades, that was cool too. But yeah, there's just some things where it's just like, you're not that scary. You're just kind of weird.
Yeah, but Brian, your love affair with that Incognito started in 2002. Go on.
Yeah, y'all summed it up. He's just not that interesting. There's some really cool imagery with the character, graphic stuff. The final fight's cool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But there's certain things about him you just scratch your head like, well, what? Like even the sort of grenade launcher that he just produces with a chain, and like there's certain aspects of him that feels like a video game character that he's a final boss, but no one would ever play as him. You're like, he's there.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Yeah, I like that.
That's who he is.
The other, villains, of course, you have the other political / organizations out there, the military and the Catholics, and then you also have the artificial vampire and the undercity type underworld type thing going on with that. The Valentine brothers they get their two episodes, and then I mentioned the Catholic guy again. What is his name, Brian? Do you remember? It's escaping me right now. Blonde, the Constantine wannabe. right? We all got that, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
it's obvious, right?
They completely.
Okay.
I'll find out. But yeah, y'all can.
He is cool
Mhm.
in terms of what he does. It like y'all said it. There you have a couple showdowns with him, and you're deep down you do think, man, we need another fight. You know, him versus Alucard. But by the time you get to the final sequence, you realize that would probably not be that. You know, Alucard will just be playing with him.
Yeah.
It's
but-
Alexander Anderson.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he is a really cool character.
Yeah, he's cool, but it's some parts of it were just kind of like on like why he would attack vampires that he knows belong to the Hellsing organization. It's like,
It's just gonna start
this
shit,
ain't your
dude.
grass. Why are you doing this?
It's just
You
gonna
know?
start shit.
Yeah, like, yeah, I get it. Even today, you have this bitter rival amongst religion, and it's just kind of like, oh god. But like, you know, the things that he did were pretty cool, but you know, it's his anger. Part of it just annoyed me because it's like, you know, he hates these vampires. They're an abomination. It's like, aren't you too with your weird abilities?
Yeah.
Hypocrite.
I guess the only other big, you get the one. I think there's one other vampire. No, that was the Valentine brother. So the Valentines are the other big like named bad guys, and we kind of mentioned them earlier. They're artificial vampires, and they're the ones that attack the Hellsing headquarters, and that's where you get the, you know, hey, you should, we recommend pissing yourselves and praying to your impotent god. If that doesn't work, there's always time for an old-fashioned suicide.
It's a great speech,
Oh,
but
I love
yeah.
it. Ugh, I know people. I'm dark and twisted, and that's okay because it all sticks in imagination land. I don't know what else to say about them. They're there for shock value. Like,
Yeah.
that's what it is. It's the violence, the sex, especially what was it, Ron Valentine, the dark-haired one that is, you know, with the girl vampire and stuff. I mean, it's a lot of fun to hang with them for 2 episodes.
They're Frost from Blade.
There you go. That's a good way to
what
put it. I like
they
that.
are.
Yeah.
They're fun. They're like you said. They have a couple episodes.
Mhm.
They do some damage, but as far as the characters, the way they play, that's sort of what they are.
Yeah. Speaking of Deacon for Frost, what we do in the shadows. I'm just gonna say those names, and I'm just gonna leave it at that. Right, Deacon, right? That was his name, right?
I don't remember the name, but
Brian?
yeah, just
I believe so.
Blade Deacon or something, right?
It's Frost.
Yeah.
I think it is Deacon Frost.
Yeah. I'm just saying, guys. What we do in the shadows is great. I love it. We know Blade exists. If you've seen the first season. Anyways, or not Blade, but Wesley Snipes as a vampire. Anyways, it's a fun show. Check that out. I don't really know any other characters to mention. You guys ready?
you got the couple, you got the priest, where they're just kind of like just little bits.
Was
But
there
as
any-
far as major characters, no.
Anyone else, Brian?
No, we went through them. Like you said, there was a few, but they're not worth
Yeah.
mentioning. Yeah.
Well, let's, we touched a little bit on the art, not towards the beginning. I mentioned things looking like Trigun, and Brian mentioned some shows. The art is awesome. I love it when Alucard is using abilities, and melting, and blood is always good, and the eye colors are often very 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 striking. Can't mention the other one. That the art is good, right? Did you have any issues with it, Brian, like during this time? Or I thought it still holds up pretty decent.
I think it holds up pretty solidly. It's the style, like you said.
Yeah.
I mean, and they go out of their way specifically with Alucard, and everything he's in to really do a lot of cool stuff with him. It is one of those animes that you could tell there was some a lot of reused stuff. So there's some budgetary vibes through the course of the 13 episodes, but all in all, no, it was not distracting. I not at all.
Yeah, Christine, you got any praise or curses for the artwork?
I don't know, just some of it, of course, looked old, but looking at some of the characters, it looked good.
Yeah.
Especially Alucard. He looked really good. Sometimes, looking like really cool. They're able to show the expression when he's kind of like nonchalant to like completely mad. So, and then like, of course, the way that he can transform, seeing all that stuff, is really cool. So
yeah. I have nothing else to say on it, but I got to go to Brian first for this one because he's been talking about it since we mentioned doing the show. Brian, the music, man, we love the reason why that this always gets its own section is because, well, fuck, guys, anime is like known for banging ass fucking music, and most of the music in this is pretty badass. Brian,
yeah, the music's perfectly done, I think, for this anime. The opening there's a lot of nostalgia there. I don't know why, but there really is. Like when I started rewatching, I was like, oh shit, like it just sort of took me back. But yeah, the music it's very well fitting. It kicks in when it needs to kick in. There's nothing better than music kicking in and Alucard laughing his ass off at someone or something. And yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, the only thing that I would say that sucked is the ending credits song, like that
Bruce Springsteen sounding
I
rock and roll.
Skip it every time. After maybe the first episode. Yeah, I'll agree.
Yeah,
that's the only one.
I mean, there's a reason why a lot of the music people hear on AVR is that bluesy, funk, and jazz type tones. All that classic rock and roll blues core. I don't know why it just works so great because there's faster, slower, there's different tempos, but it's all in that wheelhouse where you've got those really familiar root notes and those bass runs. God damn, the bass runs. It's such a great style to use, Brian. I'm a West Coast punk rocker at heart. Brian's a metalhead at heart off, and Christine, grew up with Jerry Tucker. Anyway, Brian, what is it about that blues and jazz and that smooth rock, man, that just fucking just rocks?
Yeah, I don't know. It just worked. I mean, when I was younger, I played trumpet and I was in a jazz band. So,
oh, cool! I didn't know.
True.
I didn't know you didn't. I didn't know that.
Yeah, so it
doesn't come up
in it. Yeah, I enjoyed it. It's one of those things, sort of being out there in the crowd, and especially doing solos, and I don't know, it was fun. So yeah, that music, I don't know, it works for me.
Yeah.
Wow, then I feel like just so small because I played the flute in 4th grade and then I took piano lessons and like that's it. While you're in a band and you're in a band and I'm just like, okay.
I can't play anymore.
I'm sure you'll eventually get there.
Again. Yeah. It's a great soundtrack. It's there's good music throughout that opening is amazing, of course. Anytime you put pianos in shit, it usually ups it a bit, like anything. I don't know why. It's an overrated instrument, but it does add to it. You're overrated if you play it, but the music itself isn't overrated.
Depends, because I had this music teacher. She had like the meatiest hands I'd ever seen in my life, and I'm just like, wow, this is serious for her. Okay.
Anyways, was there anything else you guys wanted to bring up about the show? Did we miss anything, Chrissy? No?
I don't think we did.
But Brian?
Did we miss anything?
Nothing that I can recall. The gloves, real quick.
Sure.
Iconic. They're just cool. I mean, similar to the guns. And, I mentioned Devil May Cry. Clearly, it was that. But I don't know. It's funny because this is a character, even in cosplay land, you see those gloves, you know what they are. Typically, I just think it's a neat little way to define a character.
Yeah, talking about clothes, Integra Hellsing's clothes. There's some shots that you see like pulled back, and she kind of looks like a kid. The way like her clothes hang on her, like her pants and her
she's not
jacket.
wearing like tailor cut.
Exactly, it's just all baggy.
Very business, or not business like professional. Just like
it just
these are clothes.
They look like jammies.
They're clothes.
The pants look like pajama pants, and I'm just like, because they're just like big and they don't look cut right. They kind of look like they're rolled up at the bottom, and it's like. Okay.
Well, I guess the only thing left to do is the thing that we forgot to do last week, which is actually grade. Since it is a review, we are supposed to grade these things, and I give it a B minus. It holds up pretty damn well, despite there being an alternate version to watch. But yeah, it didn't really feel boring ever. I had a lot of fun rewatching it last week, and yeah, it's a B minus for me. Christine, what do you give it?
I give it a B.
You give it a B. All right, Brian, what do you got?
B.
Yeah. Man, I like how we're all usually like within the same.
Yeah, and it's always like
close.
the same. It's like it's either like you and I agree, and then like you're like just like right underneath us. Like I've noticed that. Like that's. Usually how it happens. It's like, you're like, I'm gonna be a little more critical.
It's hard to grade things sometimes, because you're trying to be fair and not judge things against other things that aren't necessarily proper to judge it against. Or in this case, we're trying to judge this anime on its own, but it's like, I can see you over there, Ultimate. I'm not looking at you, but I can. God, okay, I'll watch it. So I do. I like it. I was pretty happy with it. So, all right, guys. I think that's about it. Thank you everyone for checking out Anime-Versal reviews. We do plan on trying to keep up with this weekly, if not bi-weekly. There's some shows that are going to be ongoing that we're looking to get into, which of course we'll be doing weekly, and we are going to catch as much stuff in sub as we can, so that way we're not behind. It's not my fault that I started this show after seeing Dr. Stone, so you guys will have to wait when season 3 hits for the English dub. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, do check out the website again, lrmonline.com. Our YouTube channel, the LRM YouTube channel, a lot of great celebrity interviews. There's the Art of Comic Books featuring artwork from the upcoming comic Night Terror. Tim Nardelli's involved in that, and it looks really cool. And then all the podcasts, Marvel Multiverse Mayhem, the Cantina Daily Cup of Genre, and Breaking Geek Radio, and some others. You guys can find those wherever you get your podcasts from. Brian does YouTube as well. Brian, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube. The channel's PulpMythos, and I review shows like Dexter and Big Sky.
Nice. Christine, you got anything you wanted to say?
I was just gonna because it slipped my mind when exactly we can start doing No Mercy again, because I've been waiting to do
December,
this.
Right?
No, it starts January.
Oh, January. That's close.
We're gonna dump it all on the 1st. So we're gonna start the first of the year right.
Yep. Cobra Kai. Yay! Anyways, guys, thank you so much for listening. At that Kyle Malone, and
At Adorable Doom.
there you go. Thank you guys. We'll talk to you next time. Bye.